My heart's still beating after that one. Oh my God! New Atlanta is just, specifically this, let's just specify this one. New Atlanta, as much as I doubted it from the beginning, it's had some pretty darn good racing. I can't deny it. But this race was on something else, man. We had a big wreck at the end of stage 1. Immediately, the next green flag. Half a lap of green flag racing later. Immediately after that, we have a freaking 23, 2-3, as in Michael Jordan's number, car pileup that takes out the majority of the field. A bunch of big-name contenders. The racing the rest of the night, and even before the big wrecks, was just insanity. Insanity, I say. Only 4 cars the entire night. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 cars the entire night were not involved in an incident. The racing, as I said, was insane. The last 30-lap run of this race that went green, miraculously, I don't know how, I had no idea who was going to win. Brad Keselowski was up there leading laps. Zane Smith was up there leading laps. Chase Elliott was up there leading laps. Alex Bowman was up there leading laps. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. went from the back to the front to lead laps. Ty Gibbs was up in there. Tyler Reddick was up in there. I had no idea who was going to win this race. Genuinely. No idea. No clue. Brad Keselowski controlled that whole last run, it felt like. He'd lose the lead for about half a lap and then he'd shoot back. But finally, 2 laps to go. They kind of get, I don't know if settles right, but it plays out to where the Hendrick cars line up behind him. Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman. And at that point, Brad's got to know that he's kind of screwed at this point because no one cared about teammates the entire night. Elliott ditched Bowman. Bowman ditched Elliott. The only loyal teammate was actually Chris Buescher. He never ditched Brad. Outside of that, everyone ditched everyone. Manufacturer alliances, out the window. Teammate alliances, out the window. Just like I like it, if we're being fair. But on this last lap, Chase Elliott, second place, comes to the white flag, gets his teammate Alex Bowman right behind him. Bowman gives him a big shot, and Elliott does the textbook pass that we had seen all night. You know, you go through the dog leg. I don't know if washed up to the wall is the right terminology, but goes up to the wall. Brad does. Elliott swings back down to the bottom. Brad tries his best to block, but can't block it. Elliott takes the lead, ends up going on to win because Alex Bowman, he should get teammate of the year for this. Rather than Bowman going and pushing Brad to the maybe win and maybe giving Bowman a shot if those two get together, those two side draft enough, Bowman's going to have a chance. But rather than doing that, rather than shoving Brad past his teammate, he instead splits down the racetrack, goes to pass Brad, and that ruins any chance of a photo finish, of anyone getting by Elliott. So the instant Elliott got that push from Bowman into the lead, Bowman became teammate of the year. Chase Elliott snapped his winless streak. There's so much to talk about tonight. I genuinely don't even know where to start. Well, I guess we've already kind of started talking about the finish. We had a 23-car pileup. We had the most insane racing. As I said, that last night, I had no idea who was going to win. NASCAR's website, once again, is broken. So I can't tell you who had the fastest lap. But for a bit there, Cody Ware had the fastest lap. I don't know if he ended up getting that because, once again, NASCAR, fix your website for the love of God. This happens every week now. This is like 4 straight weeks while I'm just going on and on and on. Like, can we just get this fixed? Just pure insanity. Oh, and then on top of this, we had the in-season tournament. So those big wrecks I just mentioned, we have our first ever in-season tournament. Straight up, who finishes higher in these matchup advances? I made a bracket a while ago, and, well, yeah. It's screwed. It's so screwed. Yeah, it's toast. It's Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which is who I had winning the tournament. He's still alive, though, but I think, please, for the love of God, say he's still alive. So, yeah, I interrupt this race recap to give you some red X's. Everyone, let's make some marks on this bracket. All right. So, everyone laugh at me. My bracket sucks. So, you see here, this is the pin we use to fill this thing out. We got to throw that to the side because it's time for the red pin, baby. Yeah, let's just get this out of the way. Denny, gone. Kyle Busch, Gone. 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 Joey Logano. This is so embarrassing. Gone. Daniel Suarez. Gone. Gone. My entire first portion of the bracket is gone. And I know Bell's gone too. Is Barry gone? Barry's gone too. Oh, look, it's Chase Elliott. Oh, yeah, I get to go stand up, come to the other side of the desk, get a, well, I don't have green. We're going to go with blue today. We're going to go with the blue for check marks. Yes, blue. Beautiful. One whole blue check mark. I get something right. Yay. Back to my failures. Lovely. Ross Chastain. Wrong. And oh my God. Oh my dear God. No. Super no. And I'm dead. Now we have to go to the other side of the bracket. Nope. Once again, that's going to be a no, which means more no's and another no. Because why not? No again. Oh! Stay there while I get it ready for the second time. Check. Close that back up. I will never use it again, more than likely. Let's go to our next matchup, and it is dope. It's a no again. Oh, and that's another no right here. Lucky me, I had 3 check marks. Keep this open. Keep it optimistic. Let's see if we get another one. Do we? Do we? No. Cindric, eliminated. Dead. My bracket, dead. But my champion's still alive, so I got that going for me. 1, 2, 3. 4 whole check marks in round 1. If Busher was eliminated, I would have shredded this thing already. Okay, so now that we know my bracket is screwed and I suck at making brackets, unless there's some disqualifications that want to help me. No, I'm just kidding. I guess I should take that hat off. Precious. What a race, man. I genuinely can't. The Atlanta races in the new era have been fantastic. The spring race here was great. It was controversial at the end with the whole caution light stuff. Last fall, I was at that race. That was a fantastic race. Fantastic finish there. The spring of 24, the 3-wide photo finish, obviously fantastic. I mean, Atlanta, this new Atlanta, as much as, once again, many other people doubted it, that it was going to be a 3rd super speedway. We're just going to wreck cars all the time. And don't get me wrong, we tore up some cars tonight. It got a little stupid at times, but when they keep it clean, when they are actually racing, it's phenomenal. Daytona and Talladega these days, we can't even compare it to those two. I know it's kind of the same because they're in a pack and you got to use the run, you got to bump draft, you got to be in a big pack. But honestly, this isn't even comparable to that anymore. The way this track is aged and the way this track is kind of worn down, the way the cars race on it now, it's not even comparable because Daytona and Talladega, you run wide open and you can only run 2 wide. You can't make any moves. You can't do anything in this car. And it's kind of boring. You stall out. The only time you can make moves and go 3, 4 wide is when you're saving fuel. That's the only way you can do anything at those 2 super speedways. At Atlanta, you're never saving fuel. You're always going 100% on the limit. You got to lift just a little bit every once in a while, and that allows the big runs. That allows the huge pushes, the huge moves. That's what allowed us to see at the end of this race, Chase Elliott rocket to the lead at the end of that race. And in fact, at the beginning of that run, he was leading. At one point, he got shuffled back to 8th, 9th, 10th, and he had to slowly move his way back up to the front and take that win away from Brad Keselowski. As I said, we saw Brad up there. We saw Zane Smith. We saw some desperate people up there. Brad Keselowski's not making the playoffs without a win this year. He knows that. Everyone knows that. Brad Keselowski's had a terrible year. Up until about 2 weeks ago, they've got 3 or 4 top 10s now, so they've actually been on a good run. But the point being, they dug themselves in too deep of a hole that they needed this win. If they finished second means nothing to them, honestly. They needed to win this race. Brad ran a fantastic race, led a bunch of laps, was really kind of somewhat in control at the end. As I said, like, it was so chaotic. No one knew who was going to win this thing at the end, but Brad was up there the most. He never got shuffled back. He probably got shuffled back to 4th at the deepest, whereas Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Tyler Reddick, Eric Jones, Ricky Stenhouse, Zane Smith, they got shuffled back. 9th, 10th, 11th. As I said, Stenhouse was at the back of the pack at one point. But oh my goodness, what a race. As I said, fantastic racing throughout the night. I mean, first of all, the first thing I want to point out before we go to the finishing results, I'm going to name every single one of these guys, except for 4 of them. All but 4 of them were involved in an incident. I don't even know which 4. Okay, I now know. The 4 guys who were not involved in an incident all night: Chase Elliott, Chris Buescher, Cole Custer, but they have the number 38 next to it, so maybe Zane Smith? I don't know. And Tyler Reddick. Everyone else was involved in a spin, that giant pileup, or some other sort of wreck. That is an insane statistic. And what's crazy is Chase Elliott's car, which, by the way, the background of Chase Elliott's paint scheme, really cool. Every year, the 9 car at Atlanta, it used to be at Darlington, I think, but now it's at Atlanta. They have a kid who's in the pediatric cancer center, or the medical center in Atlanta. They let a kid design the car, like actually design the paint scheme of the car. So to see that paint scheme win with the extra deeper meaning, I'm sure is really cool for Chase Elliott. And then also they had a door mark on there from contact with Chris Buescher when Buescher and Elliott almost wiped each other out at one point. So that's probably, like, hands down, that's going to be the top selling die cast this year. Like, I don't see any way that one gets beat. But those were the only 4 guys not involved in incidents. So let's talk about everyone else. Let's talk about the people who were indeed involved in incidents. NASCAR website, do you want to work now? No, it doesn't. NASCAR, fix your stupid website, for the love of God. Anywho, I don't know who led the most laps. I could guess at who did lead laps. I could approximate certain laps, if that helps you. So we'll look at the deep statistics tomorrow or Monday night for the Monday after. But let's talk about Chase Elliott. I said we were going to talk about the guys who wrecked first. Well, apparently not. Chase Elliott wins this race. Chase Elliott was not in a must-win situation. He did not need to win tonight, but he had been on a long 44-race winless streak. His last win, Texas, in April of 2024. Back-to-back long winless streaks for Chase Elliott. Of course, he won 5-6 races in 2022, early in 2023, like the second race of the year, third race of the year, he breaks his leg, misses a stint of that season. They go winless that year. They miss the playoffs that year. 2024, the winless streak continues, but they get it out of the way early, but that ends up being their only win of the year. Here we are halfway through 2025, or almost halfway. Chase Elliott's winless once again. The questions are getting rised up as they were around Texas 2024. When's Chase Elliott going to win again? What's this team's problem? They're sitting top 5 in the points, but it's a Hendrick Motorsports car without a win that hasn't been leading as many laps as you would think it would. They have not been to the level of their teammates Kyle Larson and William Byron, who have both led 700-plus laps, are sitting 1-2 in the points. Numerous top 5s, numerous stage wins. Like, they've been the class of the field this year. Whereas Chase Elliott, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been reaching the potential, I would say, that his teammates have reached, the Hendrick Motorsports has reached. Well, Chase Elliott today, I would say, was very similar to that Texas Chase Elliott from last year. Extremely aggressive, putting the car where it needed to go, making insane moves you wouldn't usually think of Chase Elliott making, riskier moves in a sense. He was being more aggressive. He was going to the lead. He probably led the most laps in this race that he's led all season, if I had to guess, 40-something laps. So Chase Elliott went a step above. He was out of his mind tonight, I would say, compared to his normal self. This was a much-needed win. Once again, they did not have to win this race. They were 160-something points above the cutoff line. But with the way this season has been, with the way that the past seasons have been, we've seen some wacky winners. We've already seen some not necessarily wacky winners, but some further back winners. Josh Berry's about 20th in the points. SVG is 30th in the points. So we've seen some deeper in the field winners. That means if Brad had won tonight, if we had seen an AJ Allmendinger win next week, if we had seen another weird road course winner, another Daytona winner, suddenly Chase Elliott's on the verge of not making the playoffs if he doesn't win. Well, this win shuts down that conversation. Chase Elliott's now in the playoffs. So once again, it was going to be a potential long shot for us to get 16 winners and bump Elliott out. But this just winning cures everything in NASCAR, especially for a big team like Hendrick for any one of their cars. So Chase Elliott gets himself a win, his first win of 2025 at his home track. I haven't even mentioned that yet. I think it's his second win at Atlanta at his home track. So big day for him to win at his home track, to get into the playoffs, to end a winless streak, to win with the special paint scheme. Like, it was like, probably if you told them this was how they were going to end the winless streak, I don't think they would have wanted to wait this long. But this is probably the way they would have chosen to do it. So Chase Elliott now in the playoffs. Brad Keselowski, that's heartbreaking for him. As I said, it wasn't like in control where he was blocking both lanes, doing a great job, holding everyone off, and then just things didn't work out on the last lap. He was just the one that didn't get shuffled back and have to make his way back through. He did a great job of controlling the lanes to an extent, not letting it to get too far out of reach, knowing when to take runs, knowing when to block runs. Brad Keselowski is one of the most experienced drivers we have. He's one of the best super speedway drivers we have. He's won at Daytona. He's won at Talladega like 6 times. Like, this guy knows what he's doing at the super speedways. He puts himself in position. This is the best he's driven this season, this race right here. As I said, they've really picked it up the last few weeks. They've gotten a few top 10s. They've had a lot more speed, having clean races. And today, when we go to Darlington in early September, late August, and if Brad Keselowski's not in the playoffs at that point, we're going to come back to this race, look at this and say, if he could have held on for one more lap, if Chase Elliott wouldn't have had his teammate behind him, maybe Brad ends up winning this race and makes the playoffs. So as great as the second place result is, as great as leading all those laps was, as fantastic of a night it was for them, ultimately a second doesn't do much for them in terms of points, because they're not in this thing for points. They need to win. Alex Bowman, a great points night for him, but he's really close to that playoff bubble. On the bright side, while it was a new winner, it was someone ahead of him in points, so it doesn't bump the cut line down a spot as if, Brad had won. But Bowman, a fantastic night. He did a great job leading laps. I don't know how many laps he led, because once again, the NASCAR app does not want to work tonight. Well, I got it to load for 5 seconds. 32 laps led, so a fantastic race for Bowman. He's had good runs here before, if I remember correctly, so a really good night for him. Great night for Hendrick Motorsports, a 1-3. Byron was a part of that giant pileup. I'm trying to think of what incident Bowman was involved in. I don't know. Let's just assume it's the 23 car one. Tyler Reddick finishes 4th, one of the 4 cars not involved in an incident. Had Superman on the hood, drove like Superman at times, led some laps in this race. Won stage 2 by that much, maybe, over Chase Elliott. A photo finish for the stage win. Obviously would have preferred the race win, but he is now the top driver in the points without a win. So in terms of points, he's doing good. But as I said for Chase Elliott, if we get a bunch of wacky winners, suddenly Tyler Reddick's the one stressing if he doesn't have a win. So 23-11, still looking for that first win in 2025, but a great run for Reddick nonetheless. Eric Jones with the top 5. Great job by Legacy Motor Club tonight. Both of their cars involved in a couple of incidents. Eric Jones spun out. He got walled by Stenhouse at one point. I mean, they were involved in incidents, and this is going to be the story for a lot of guys. But he rallies back, finishes in the top 5. Great day, great run for them. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was able to put on some fresh tires at the end of that race, charge up to the front, looking for that win. Ends up falling short, but it was spectacular. It was exciting to watch him go from the back to the front, fight with Keselowski, and he needs a win to make the playoffs too. Zane Smith, he was up there at the end. We do not see Zane Smith lead a lot of laps in the Cup Series this year. So to see him up there, to see him competing for the win, looking for an underdog win, as he had the Aaron's Lucky Dog on his car. Really exciting to see him up there fighting for that win, up in contention. Really big moment for Front Row Motorsports, even though I know they wanted that win. 8th place, Ty Dillon. This top 10 is really whack, man. Ty Dillon, he had some damage, so he was never quite able to get up there and compete with Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, and all of them. But he was able to hold the back half of the top 10 with his damage. So regardless, it's a great day for Ty Dillon. An 8th place finish. So great day for him. Some damage on the car, but a really good result. Chris Buescher finishes 9th, tried his best to defend his teammate there. But a top 10 with a really cool looking Cinnamon Toast Crunch car. Carson Hocevar went multiple laps down, was involved in, I can't remember, was he involved in the first incident or the second incident? The 8-car pileup or the 23? He was involved in one of them, had tape on the car all night long, tons of damage. At one point, he was in that group fighting for the lead. I mean, just absolute insanity. But he ends up with the top 10. Connor Zilisch, his first ever Cup Series Super Speedway start. Maybe the most chaotic Super Speedway race he'll ever race in. He was involved in that 23-car pileup, but not a lot of damage. I think he just did a spin, maybe tapped Kyle Larson or something, but he ends up surviving. He ends up being up in the top 10 at times. Didn't quite lead any laps, but he finishes in the top 15, 11th. A really good result for him. AJ Allmendinger 12th. Cody Ware, dude. Cody Ware was sitting in the back half of the top 10 with 50 to go, and I was like, oh my God. Cody Ware's going to make the NASCAR playoffs. Now, obviously, that didn't end up happening. But Cody Ware had the fastest lap at one point. Once again, I don't know if he did because NASCAR's website refuses to work. You know, everyone's got their rivalries. Apparently mine is the NASCAR app or the NASCAR website or whatever we want to call this thing. Ty Gibbs ends up finishing 14th. They need a win as well. They led some laps. They end up 14th. Ryan Preece. Top 20 for BJ McLeod. Get loud for McLeod, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go, baby. In the top 20 most of the night. Survived that 23-car pileup, I think. Might have been involved in that. They were involved in one of the incidents. Once again, I don't know which one. But ends up getting a top 20. They beat Kyle Larson. Cody Ware and BJ McLeod beat Kyle Larson. And Kyle Larson didn't DNF. Who would have thought? Not me. Kyle Larson, by the way, a very popular pick in the in-season tournament. I did not advance him, so good job me. Michael McDowell, Cole Custer, Austin Dillon, Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Justin Haley, SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen scored stage points in Stage 1 and Stage 2 on an oval. I cannot confirm the statistic because I have not found it yet, but I believe that this is the first time Shane Van Gisbergen has scored oval stage points in his NASCAR Cup career, so good for him. But he ends up finishing 24th. He was involved in a single car incident, got clipped, broke the toe link. They went multiple laps down, never recovered. Noah Gragson, John Hunter Nemechek, he was involved in that SVG incident. Todd Gilliland and Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst led the lap tonight. There was a minute when Riley Herbst and SVG were side by side for second place, and I was like, wow, how ironic would it be? NASCAR has this in-season tournament, and one of the drivers who doesn't qualify wins the race. Well, it did not come down to that because, well, they both ended up wrecking, but Riley Herbst did indeed lead a lap tonight. David Starr finishes 29th, was lapped on lap 16, went 20 laps down, and they ended up wrecking somehow, some way. But 29th for them, that's a good run. Christopher Bell was involved in that first incident. Denny Hamlin involved in the 23-car pileup, as was Josh Berry, Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez, Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano, William Byron, Austin Cindric, Corey LaJoie, and then Ryan Blaney was involved in that first incident. So, that ended up being my pick this morning for the race. That went horribly wrong. Atlanta, what a thriller of a race. As I said, they have provided some great racing in the super speedway era of theirs. I can't believe it. I really like Atlanta. I mean, I liked old Atlanta, but I like this new Atlanta too, which I did not anticipate when this started in 2022. But we've had a great streak of races here. Coke 600 was fantastic. Michigan was fantastic. Mexico had its excitement in the rain. Pocono had the fuel mileage excitement. And then here we are, Atlanta providing once again. What an insane race. Thank you guys again for watching this video. One of these days, the NASCAR website will indeed work for me. Will that happen anytime soon? Probably not. I'll stop staring at the screen now. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys did indeed enjoy this video. If you did, I'm happy. But we'll be back Monday night for the Monday after. Atlanta should be a fun one. And yeah, Atlanta, let me know what your thoughts were on this race in the comments. Just some insane racing the entire night.